those microphones on?
Are your microphones working properly? Are they on?
Sorry. Yep.
All right. Okay. Welcome to our Lunch and Learn. We're here this afternoon having had a great conversation about housing access and food access to now talking about the role of social workers in our community. When I began my time working as senior advisor to our trustee, one of the things I thought we should really do is partner with our local universities. And obviously Indiana University Northwest is a major partner. As I said earlier, they have a medical school, they have many master's degree programs from public affairs to social work, to the sciences, and so many other areas. And so I reached out to Professor Harris, and who you'll hear from very soon. We were able to connect and to think about ways in which the Calumet Township Trustee's Office, which is purposed, right, with serving the disadvantaged, serving those who are poor in a time of need, which, by the way, could be any of us. Earlier, we heard about an increasing number of folks in our city who are facing mortgage foreclosures. There's a lot of folks who lose their job, who have multiple degrees and can't pay their mortgage, right? So when we talk about the services that the Township Trustee's Office provides, I don't want us to see it as something for them and those people. We should see this as a resource for all of us, for the strength of our total community to be able to provide for all people. And so in that meeting, we talked about ways in which the Township Trustee's Office, as well as the social work department, could work better together. Out of that meeting, we learned about the Field Site program that IUN has for both their Bachelor of Social Work and their Master of Social Work students. We learned that I don't believe we had ever been a field site for your students who are training and learning social work as a career, but North Township had been. So there was some precedent for your department working with a local trustee's office. We're currently working on our affiliate agreement. It is with the General Counsel's Office for Indiana University in Bloomington. But at some point very soon, we will sign our affiliate agreement between the Township Trustee's Office and IUN to become an official field site for bachelor degree and master's degree students at IU Northwest. Let's give that a round of applause. Students will be able to work with residents. They will be able to design systems and resource guides. They'll be able to set up and manage programs like these. They'll be able to look for new resources and new partnerships within the community. But this is a way for us to work with local talent who are studying in our community and to put them and align them with the mission of their degree with our mission as a Township Trustee Office. How social workers support Northwest Indiana's safety net. We're joined today by Professor Marcelia Harris, who is the program director for the Bachelor of Social Work program and an assistant professor at IUN. She is macro-focused and teaches courses in social welfare policy and writing for social workers in the undergraduate program. Her research interests include adjunct teaching practices, cultural humility, and community engagement. She has presented at several national conferences and authored a chapter in the Writer's Handbook, a guide for social workers, and the Writer's Handbook, 12 workshops for effective writing. Dr. Harris is a member of the National Association of Social Workers and the Association of Baccalaureate Program Directors. She is a licensed child welfare specialist in the state of Illinois and has several years of experience as a child welfare practitioner. She holds her doctorate of social work from St. Catherine University, University of St. Thomas, and an MSW from Indiana University Northwest, and BS in Graphic Arts from Indiana State University. One of the things I asked her to do, I wanted to put her in conversation with a current student. So we have with her, and they're of no relation, Mr. Asher Harris, who is a third-year Master's of Social Work student at IUN, who brings 19 years of leadership in social services, having designed and directed programs focused on caring for the comprehensive needs of older adults to preserve and enhance their quality of life. His roots in service began in childhood while watching his parents minister to individuals facing trauma, addiction, and financial hardship, experiences that shaped his lifelong call to social work. Currently, he is a MSW student at IUN and working as a field intern at Rush University Medical Center, where he is exploring innovative models of sustainable care for older adults and those that serve them. Above all, he treasures his wife and children, and watch out now, he is a proud Gary Roosevelt Panther. You might have some fans and friends in here. I don't know how much the trustee likes that, but, and for self-care, he enjoys gardening, Christian hip-hop, photography, and all things Marvel. Let us begin this conversation. We'll start with the professor and then go to you, Asher. What brought you to social work? What led you to this profession?
Okay, so before I get started, you guys, I want you guys to ask questions. This is very informal, and I want you to walk away knowing what social work is. That's the first thing. The second thing is I want to say it's so great to see familiar faces and meeting new faces along the way. I have to shout out my young lady over here who's from IUN as well. And hey, nice to see you. I also want to say, to get started, like, what are the myths that you know about social work? Like, what have you heard about social work in a negative way? Anybody? Yell it out.
For the poor.
For the poor. Okay, what else? Anything else?
Not enough money.
Not enough money. We don't even make a lot of money. What else? Anybody else? Did I hear something else?
Very challenging.
Very challenging. Okay. Anybody else? One more thing that people say all the things about social work.
Stressful.
Very stressful. The one thing that folks also say is that we always remove children. We're always removing children. That's the bad part about it, which keeps people from being involved in social work or they've had a bad experience. So can somebody tell me two good things that social workers actually do, or two things that we do outside of what we believe to be the myths?
Reunification of children back to their community.
Absolutely. Reunification of our parents and our children, so children who have been removed, they get back together through completed services or whatever is needed to make that a stronger, healthier household. Anybody else?
It's rewarding.
It's rewarding, very much so. And in the back, sir?
Help people heal from
Help
past trauma.
Absolutely. We help people heal from past trauma in different ways. So I would start off that way because the whole idea of social work can be a myth. And I want to share with my story of how I got into social work as well, and then ask you all to ask questions along the way. So I started out as a Master's of Business Administration student at IUN many, many years ago. I was working at the Bank of Chicago, which is now JP Morgan Bank. It was the First National Bank of Chicago at that time, downtown. And my sister had a very bad accident at that time. I got a call when I was at work saying that she had fell and she broke both rotator cuffs. So I had to go to the hospital in Chicago, and I had never been to the hospital before in Chicago, and I had to pick her up. There were no services in place to carry her out of the hospital, take her home, get her from Illinois back to Indiana. I had to navigate all that on my own, and I knew nothing about social work. I just knew that my sister was hurt, and I needed to take care of her, and I didn't know what that meant at the time. I loaded her up into my vehicle, and I took her from Illinois Hospital, where they should have never released her from, into my care, into Indiana, and I had to figure out how to take care of her with two rotator cuffs that had been broken. Where do I go from there? And as a result of it, I had to navigate the hospital, I had to navigate very different systems that I was not familiar with. I had to make sure she got to her doctor's appointment, physical therapy, etc. So as I was doing all these things, I realized that I had become her personal advocate, not by choice, but by need. And so I said to myself, if I'm doing this for my sister and I have no clue about what I'm doing, what about those people who don't have folks who support them at home? What does that look like? And that's when I decided that social work was where I needed to be. So I dropped out of the MBA program and I decided to look into social work and started having conversations with different people about what social workers do, what's needed, educational background, etc. So that's what brought me into social work. I would say that social work is a calling because I was going to make money and I was going to have that big MBA and I was just going to go and do big things. But that's not what God had in store for me at that time. But what I did learn was the whole idea about the systems, what systems are needed. So for example, if I have a client who has 3 children and 3 appointments that day, and they have to get on a bus, 3 different buses to get to those appointments by the end of the day, you think that's stressful for that individual? Absolutely. What if they don't have the money? What if they don't have access to the actual transportation? What if the 3 kids that they have, what if one of them is sick? What if one of them is just acting out that day and she just can't deal with it because she's just trying to get to the appointment? And so I realized for me that I needed to be out there being an advocate for somebody somewhere at some time. And so that's how I ended up getting my master's in social work at IUN. I always say I grew up at IUN because I started there just in a summer program, taking classes there, and that's how I became familiar with IUN. And then I found out about this master's program. I actually was the second class that graduated from IU with the master's program in 2017. So just to give you an idea. And then from there, when I was in the master's program, one of my former supervisors said, if you're gonna stay in this field, if you're gonna do this work, you need to go further and get more education. And that's how I ended up doing my doctorate. So that's just my quick overall background of where I came from social work. My mother's currently 87 years old, so right now I'm actually taking care of her, giving services for her as well, making sure that she needs those services. I'm navigating systems for her as well. It's something that's not easy, but it's something that is needed. Again, that's my mom. You know, mom comes first, I'm gonna take care of her. But there's also many seniors and other individuals who also need those services, and they don't know where to go to get them, they don't know how to get them, they don't know what's needed. So that's just a quick entry into who I am.
Wow, thank you. Asher?
Thank you. That was amazing, Doc. I feel like I should just say I work at Speedway, but I don't. My name is Asher Harris. I would say I entered social work probably the non-conventional way too. Really started out by saying my parents, father is a pastor, mother is everything, Sunday school teacher, all that stuff. But what really made an impression on me as a young person was to see them leave church and connect with somebody who may have been considered an outcast, to love on that person, to care about them, to watch them cry, to let them hear their story, and to pray for them, and to try to connect them and many other families to resources. So that was my initial introduction, but like Doc mentioned, I still had a career path, want to make money, do some different things. I got into sales. I was really bad, and so I got out of sales. And so went to a pathway of customer service, but I realized that even in doing telemarketing, customer service, anybody ever done telemarketing? You don't got to out yourself. But if anybody's done telemarketing, what I noticed is that some of the work we were doing was praying on them, and praying on people who didn't have, whose first language wasn't English. And so I was like, Lord, I need something more fulfilling. I need something that will give me instant gratification in the sense that I can sleep at night and know that my integrity is in place. So I was led to 19 years ago to a high-rise senior facility in Illinois. That's where I've been working with about 800 seniors with a staff of about 7. We've been able to do some amazing things in the Chicagoland area, Bronzeville, at this high-rise. But I still hadn't finished in education. So I was kind of lost in my work, wanted to get out of it, talk to a family member, and I was like, what do I do? It's like, just go back to school and get a degree. So I came back to IUN and I started a degree in general studies. And what happened is I was actually at a baseball game shortly after a friend of mine passed tragically. And I had to have counseling services myself, which is fantastic. I was counseled by a social worker. And I saw her at that game after our counseling terminated. And I said to her so arrogantly, you know what, that counselor thing you did with me, I think I can do that. And she said, I think you can do it too. I said, what I gotta do? She said, all you gotta do is go back to school and get a master's degree. Y'all, I was in general studies. So at that moment, I humbly went to the dean of the social work program and they let me in. And I got my bachelor's in social work. And I became the supervisor of my department at work and have been leading it now for about 6 years, which was God's grace. And then I became very frustrated about a year ago with my position and called my mentor here and was complaining about the job. And she's like, hey, buddy, you gonna complain about it? You gonna do something about it? Come on back into the MSW program. And I said, yes, ma'am. And that's what started me on my journey back to MSW. So here I am.
That's excellent. Congratulations. Professor Harris, you mentioned the importance of navigating systems as you were working with your sister, and now I'm sure you've worked with hundreds of people, and you've trained hundreds of people to navigate systems. For the layperson and from a social work perspective, what does it mean to navigate systems?
Great question. So, what I forgot to say, my background actually is working with pregnant and parenting moms who are mentally ill. And so I did that for 22 years in Illinois, working with that group and also working with their children. So navigating systems means many things, from taking them to the doctor's office, making sure they're getting the correct care, letting them know that just because they're a warden state, that means that they still should get quality care. Also making sure that they work with psychiatrists and psychologists to get the correct diagnosis. Many of the young ladies that I worked with eventually came to me at 17, but they had a diagnosis between the ages of 12 and 14 when hormones are flaring, things are changing, and they need a new diagnosis. So I had to go back to the psychiatrist and say, hey, this diagnosis that this individual got at the age of 12 no longer fits her because she's 17, she's now pregnant or parenting, and we need a new diagnosis. Navigating the system to make sure that she is receiving quality services that she needs health-wise. Also navigating services to make sure those young ladies were into some type of educational program, and then also moving them into some type of employment that will work with them. We had to deal with the fact that they were mentally ill and making sure that the mental health issues were being addressed so they could go out to schools, could go on a job, and actually hold a job. Also make sure that their parenting skills, that they were in parenting classes so they could parent those children and make sure they were a safe environment. So I've navigated systems everywhere from dealing with Medicaid and Medicare for my mother, dealing with the hospitals and different professionals for my sister, making sure that they have what they need, that they understand what the systems are, I understand what the systems are, and I know who to call and advocate when those systems stop.
Asher, I'll ask you the same question.
Sure, thank you.
For you, what does it mean to navigate systems?
Absolutely. So navigating systems on the south side of Chicago means that after you do an intake with a person and really hear them and see what their needs are, it is connecting them to whatever resource that is. Sometimes that might be SNAP benefit. Sometimes that is something they used to call circuit breaker, which is helping to get assistance with license, and that is I'm trying to think of the Secretary of State in Illinois, as well as any subsidy. Right now, what's going on is CETA. So the CETA program is designed to help with light bill. So it's getting connected to that. And sometimes, because I work in high rise, navigating the system is actually navigating inside the building between colleagues. So what you will learn inside of an organization when you're social services driven is that the entity, at times, the focus has to be capital because they have to keep the building running, and yours is kind of the heartbeat of the people that are inside. So sometimes, or a lot of times, I would say most importantly, sometimes it's navigating the relationships that are and aren't happening, and trying to make that connection so that power struggles or power and authority isn't exploited, and that the senior can still feel well cared for and advocated.
So when you think about Northwest Indiana and our particular challenges and our systems and our resources that we have, what are some of the gaps that you see, and what do you think the role of social workers is in terms of policy, right? Because often we think solely in terms of service, direct service to people, getting people to the right places, but how do we, from a social worker's mindset, shape and reshape policies that we have, which are actually detrimental to human flourishing, right? Which are actually detrimental to thriving and succeeding, whether you're a child, whether you're a senior, or whether you're middle-aged trying to find employment, or you're dealing with mental health issues, etc.
So one of the things that is gap in Northwest Indiana in particular is just child care. One of the things that I find with my students in particular is that there's not available child care or free child care. I have a lot of times I have students who miss class because they don't have a babysitter or something to take care of their kids. One of the rules I have implemented in my classes is that if you don't have a babysitter, bring that baby to class, bring that child to class with you. I refer them to be in class with their child and the child is safe versus them missing class. So childcare is definitely one of them. We at IUN have been trying to figure out a relationship or try to build a partnership with a childcare facility. Years ago, IUN used to have a childcare in place and trying to build a childcare center, and we're trying to figure out how to do that again. So that's one of the things I would say definitely is a gap. Another gap is definitely working with our seniors and making sure that they're not taken advantage of, that they're not being preyed upon. There's a lot of schemes going around for our seniors, taking advantage of them, calling them, et cetera, convincing them to give them money. They lose their home, they're losing the services they need because they don't understand. There's no one there to work for them. No one's checking on them on a regular basis to see who's knocking at that door and who's making the phone call. So that's another gap that I would say that's definitely big. And then I think the other thing is just trying to get something for our young people, to make sure our young people are looking at education or employment as something that's going to make them viable in the city of Erie, but also viable as an individual as they're moving forward through life. As far as policy is concerned, I think that the policy issues are major, but I also think that because so many people are not familiar with policy, not clear about how to go about it, one of the things that we do as a university is that we have a Student Social Work Association that we take a look at different things that are happening on campus as far as policy, and then looking at what the state is doing. And usually in February, I take, I heard earlier, I think it was Ms. Freeman who said that she has a bus going to Indianapolis. So in February, I take the students to Indianapolis for our legislative day, where we go to advocate for policy, our legislators, we talk about bills that we think are good or bad, and figure out what we need to do to make those changes around that. So that's what I would say.
Thank you.
So I would say just from one of the things I'm studying right now is a health equity. So I would just say looking at policies specifically that are around the industries, like BP and the big industries, and how it affects the health of the people who live around those things. Because some of the statistics show extremely harmful results when you live around, I think it's within 10 miles. You have 3 times the likelihood of having issues with respiratory, cancer, heart, and things like that. So it's really beginning to, and that's not to call out the entity, but it's just to say, like, when you live around in industrial zones, it can be very harmful to your health. So it's looking at ways to counteract those things and just pour back into the citizens, because health is wealth.
One of the challenges I've heard a lot is that there's a deficit, there's a shortage of social workers, that we need more social workers. And when you kind of did the call and response, one of the things that people talked about, you don't make enough money, right? It's stressful, it's very difficult. And so what are you seeing in terms of recruitment of social workers at IUN? What's drawing people to the profession? What are ways you think you can expand the profession to actually meet the need, whether it's school social work, whether it's community social workers? We know mental health is a tremendous challenge nationwide, certainly within our city. We know mental health is a big challenge. Our former Surgeon General talked a lot about the loneliness epidemic, right? We're seeing an increase in suicides and so forth. So we know there's a need, right, for social workers to be at every level within our society. What are you seeing in terms of growth in the profession, and how are you sort of persuading or convincing people to remain interested in the profession?
So mental health is the biggest thing that's drawing a lot of students now to social work. The whole idea of mental health illness that is occurring in many families, and there's not a lot of resources there. So we're recruiting students to be more mental health professionals. We're also at a bachelor's level, on a master's level, you can become licensed, and if you get a license, that also helps you to enter into the field as far as making more money. On that end, the other side of it, I would say, is that there's a huge gap in gerontology. We need more social workers who are working with the elderly, who are familiar with the elderly, who are patients with the elderly, so there's not any elderly abuse. We have, so my students who've come back have told me, you can make a lot of money in healthcare. You can make a lot of money working for the hospital if you're licensed as a social worker. So that whole myth about not making money is really not true. It just depends on where you go. So the gaps right now are mental health, and it is gerontology. It's also working in the whole idea of cultural humility, providing services that are, meets the individual's needs where they are, as far as who they are as an individual, taking a look at these state laws that are like SEA 202 or HB 1001 that are taking the words diversity out of the schools and different activities that we're doing, making sure that we're meeting with individuals who understand what that looks like moving forward, as far as providing services to them and also bringing them back into the program. And that study student it could be a health-focused person, it could be a mental health and addiction person, or schools-focused. And we have individuals placed in all those areas within the community of Northwest Indiana. And then those individuals can go on and work in policy as well.
Can you say more about cultural humility, what that means?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Thanks for asking about that. Most people know about cultural competence, right? So, okay, so y'all know I'm a teacher at heart. So if I start doing the teacher thing, just shut me down.
We love it.
Okay. So we talk about cultural competence, and that is, everyone should be able to relate to people at certain levels, at certain times, depending on where they're at. Okay, is this better? Okay, so cultural competence is being able to relate to different ethnic groups, depending on where you are in the stage of cultural competence. So there's 5 levels of cultural competence that most people they believe they're very culturally competent and that they can work with different people at different levels, which is not true. Cultural humility is about being able to accept that person for whoever they are. Whoever walked through the door, how they looked, whatever they're bringing to the table. I may be African American, I may be African American LGBTQ, I may be African American trans. And that's cultural humility says, hey, no matter what you're presenting at this particular time, in this particular situation, I'm going to be able to work with this group no matter what. There's not a lot of judgment. I can take whatever I know as far as my experience and work with that individual and make that individual the person who has the experience. They're the expert on themselves. Now let's figure out how to make it work or whatever we need to work with that individual. Is that helpful?
It is.
Okay.
That is. Can you talk about those 5 cultural competence?
Yeah, but I can't probably name them.
That's okay. Just give us a few of them.
So it's cultural blindness. And you've heard people say this all the time, I don't see color. Well, that's cultural blindness when you say I don't see color. How dare you say I don't see color when I'm sitting up here and I got this dark skin, right? As opposed to someone who does not have dark skin or someone who has a little darker skin. So this is cultural blindness. Then there's the whole idea of being culturally sensitive to the point that it's a cultural issue, but we don't want to talk about it. So we want to talk about everything else except for race or ethnicity. We want to talk about the sky, the color, the sun that morning, the sunshine, etc. We don't deal with anything with race. We just want to hide underneath the rug. And so we get to the point of saying that it's a racial issue or it's racist. We don't want to play into the whole idea of race. We're going to play into something totally different. So that's kind of the top and bottom of it. The bottom would be the whole cultural competence of I can get along with everybody, anywhere, anytime, no matter what. And that's not really true. When we work with people, no matter who you are as a social worker or an individual, there's always some biases somewhere that we need to address first in order to provide the best service.
Thank you. Can you share your thoughts on that?
No, sir, I haven't studied for that quick.
Let's talk about in terms of, you mentioned the areas of growth in the profession, right? Whether it's health or schools. What kind of salaries are people making? And I know when we met back in the summer, you were telling me your students range from 18, 19 years old. You've had people to come back as a second or third career in their 50s and 60s. What does it look like as we think about AI and kind of moving into the workforce conversation? There's going to be a tremendous shift in the jobs that are needed for the future, right? And the future is not as far away as it used to be. And so when we think about in our highly tech, isolated environments where a lot of young people kind of exist in their own world and not as social as they used to be, as we see some of the mental health concerns emerging and increasing and expanding, and we think about what jobs are going to still be around, right? When you can go on ChatGPT and say, make me a press release, right? Or write up a report that does these things. We know there's going to be a lot of jobs eliminated. But what remains in that kind of environment as people try to retool themselves and upskill themselves? to be employable, right? And to be employed, and we think about what will be the mental and social effects of mass unemployment, right? The potential for that, which we hope does not happen, but when we hear, as of yesterday, right, Amazon is looking to cut their workforce by, I think, 400,000 people because they're going to automate many of their logistics facilities, right? And that's going to happen across multiple industry sectors. So social work, right? Professions that deal person to person, that require you to connect with people, help them to navigate being unemployed, right? Navigate having a health crisis. I think those kind of professions are still going to be around. And so if somebody were interested here today in being a social worker as a second or a third career, or as something they might do along with other activities they're currently doing, what would that look like? And specifically at IUN, what does that look like?
Okay, so first of all, if you guys are interested in a bachelor's degree in social work or master's degree in social work, please talk to me about that piece of it. AI is a tremendous tool, and I think it's going to grow at a specific rate, a higher rate. What AI cannot do is give you the human part of it. You can ask it questions, it can write you a program, it can create a paper for you, whatever you need to do. But it can't go in and advocate for that individual. It can't give you the human side of it. So working with our elderly, I'll take that for an example, of being a companion to them, making sure that they can do the work they need or navigate through the systems that they need to do. So the positions that are going to be around, again, are going to be in mental health, it'll be in gerontology, but it's also about being able to work with groups and being able to provide the services that are needed for those groups. It's also about, so we always say it's a helping field, and most people say I want to help people. It's really about bringing that person back, what we call homeostasis, but back to the beginning where they were. So if I'm in crisis today, I need to get out of crisis, but I also need to elevate myself out of that crisis so it doesn't happen again. How does AI do that? Well, you need individuals who are going to walk in and do that. And there's a shortage of social workers between now, I believe, and 2030, which is not far from here, is almost about 200,000 in the field. So
200,000 jobs, right, that will need to be filled.
Will need to be filled.
Right.
Correct, as we make all of these changes. So this is what we're looking at when it comes to social work and what the social worker can do for that individual. It's also about learning about AI to teach how that's going to work and how that's going to maybe interfere or maybe support the work that we're currently doing with social work as well. And then it also takes a look at, like, what is our future as we're moving forward with social work. Do we want an AI environment where you're just talking to a phone or to a system to bring that whatever knowledge to you that way? Or do you want a human body next to you to explain it to you and to support you and to give you that information that you need one-on-one?
Thank you.
Absolutely. I want to do a call or response to, repeat after me. Black men, do social work. Black men, do social work. Here's what I mean. I just want to encourage you, as I know some of you are educators, some of you are raising young folks, encourage the young brothers to consider this field because their voice is so needed, especially at the MSW level, because in the work that I'm doing, and even as you talk to other people, when you get to a point in your life when you need someone to talk to and you want the person you're talking to have a genuine cultural reflection of who you are, it's missing. And so I think it's so important that we encourage young black men and the many other things that they can do, which are great and are important. Please encourage young black men to consider the field of social work, please.
Wonderful. Well, I'm going to open it up to our audience. I know you mentioned childcare, so there's a particular gentleman that might have something to say about childcare. I saw him shifting in his seat, but are there any questions that folks would like to raise or comments you'd like to make? I'm putting you on the spot. Any questions? Macio?
Sure, yeah.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Godwin, for the opportunity to stand in front of the panel and community members as well. My name is Maceo Rainey, and I run multiple 24-hour child care facilities right here in the city of Gary. Matter of fact, not too long ago, the vision and the idea of having a 24-hour child care facility came to fruition because I saw what was happening right in front of me in the public K through 12 institutions in this city. I actually came to Gary in 2016 as a school principal for the Gary Public Schools, and my school closed down 8 months on the job. It just closed down, and a private organization took over the school system and its day-to-day operation, so I was out after that. But I wanted to say that, and I want this to resonate for the community, maybe it relates to child care and what you mentioned, Professor Harris, is that the state of Indiana loses over $4 billion annually because of people are disengaged from the workforce, and lack of child care and affordability of child care is normally the culprit. And then the state loses another $3 billion for people who have high turnover in businesses that can't go to work or frequently miss work. But newsflash here, community, many of us are hired. Our community, Lake County, Porter County, all the way out to Stark County, many of the residents, about 80% of the residents, do not have a 4-year bachelor's degree, which means that they're working in areas like transportation, casino gaming, or the steel mills, or any type of industry that has shift work. And many of them are hired on a 90-day probation, but unfortunately, our people are normally terminated before the probationary period ends because they're skipping work and missing work because of normally a lack of child care. There's no place to go. Most daycares in this city close at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. Well, if the shift starts at 6 o'clock and you get off at 6 in the morning, where do you go? And Big Mama is no longer watching people's kids anymore. She's got a life of her own. So those become relative issues that impact the quality of life for residents in the city of Gary. So I kind of wanted to lay that on your lap because I see firsthand how lack of affordable child care and child care options impact the quality of life. And another news flash, I don't know if you guys realize, but last month, Governor Braun sent out an edict that they're cutting child care funding reductions in the state of Indiana. In essence, that simply means that a lot of our residents who are just one paycheck away from financial ruin, or one medical co-payment or automobile repair payment away from financial ruin, cannot afford to shoulder the burden of child care. They're going to be forced to either leave their children either at home, alone perhaps, or with someone, or perhaps just don't go to work and just become disengaged from the workforce, which creates more social problems. But that is somewhat of a climate forecast that we are, not only in the city of Gary, but also when it comes to the state of Indiana, when it comes to the most important investment that we can have in this community, and that's child care. You mentioned that you even had a student bring a child to class. And I guess in desperate times, desperate measures are the order of the day. But legally in the state of Indiana, you don't have to report to school until you're 5 years old, right? That's when you legally have to be in school. But I know too much about brain development. I have a degree in it. From birth to 5 years old, the brain is developing. You're learning words, handshakes, communication. The brain is developing at almost 1,000 kilowatts an hour. So, and I can tell the achievement gap starts the first day of kindergarten. I can see those children that come in with an extensive vocabulary, advanced social skills, versus a kid who's been sitting in front of the TV for 5 years or being babysat. So this is why child care is so important. It's so critical in our community. So if we're going to change the school to prison pipeline that impacts our communities, then we have to address the child care crisis in our community.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you. A lot of information there.
I'd like to follow up with that as well. So when we talk about child care and the social problems that are existing at home, we actually have social workers who are in police stations now, who are working with families for those particular issues. The family or the home is not safe. There's no way to send someone to child care. So we have social workers who are on our police stations now in Griffith and Hobart. We're working on hopefully getting one here in Gary as well, who go out to the family to make sure that the house is safe, that the children are safe, they're making sure that they have gun locks and gun boxes for that particular family, so there's not these accidental shootings that are happening. So social workers are out there doing the same, trying to make sure that children are safe and that we have the placements for them as we go forward. And child care is definitely needed. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the audience?
So you emphasize black men in particular getting into social work. My oldest son is actually in school for social work right now. What would you say is the greatest area of need or opportunity as for someone like him who is pursuing this opportunity now, originally thinking about getting into business and other ventures, but now having a hard turn to say, I want to get into an area that will bring more fulfillment? What type of direction in terms of the greatest area of opportunity or need for social workers?
I think health is great. I think, again, counseling is great, which is with a master's and when he gets his clinical license, it's something that he could, do it actually even on the side. People talk to me about that. I'm not sure that's what I'm gonna do. But in reality, I hate to say it like this, but in reality, what I'm experiencing is that wherever he goes, he'll be a unicorn. And the demand for him and his service and his presence and his perspective has the opportunity, not guaranteed, but has the opportunity to open many, many doors. Just because he will have a unique voice in those rooms and space. But again, what I think will be fantastic would be to see more black men in the counseling realm, especially when you get out of the pandemic and when you get into systems of oppression and different ways that we've been made to feel over the years, and then you want to find out who can you talk to, and you scroll site today and there may be one, and he's in North Carolina. So what about a person who understands the systems that I'm in Indiana or is Midwest and things like that? So I'm not sure how on point that is, but I think that's a fantastic thing to think about, and just his degree, can do a lot of different things.
Yeah, I'd like to add too that he can actually go into the schools at every level, from elementary on to high school, need social workers, black men in particular, to be able to relate to the children, to provide them some type of role model along the way. The counseling piece is very important because what anybody will bring is a point of reference to that particular field, right? So as a African American male who's had that experience, who has that background, who's navigated systems, they understand those children who's coming through the door, who've been abused, who there's not enough food to feed them, they're moving from place to place every month, there's some homelessness, they're living in cars, they're living wherever. And so that individual can pretty much open the door for themselves. So if that's what he's interested in doing, I guarantee you almost every African American male student that we've had through the program, and it's not been a many at all, has been able to go out and create their own. So I have one right now who has his own business, and he does Medicaid, Medicare appointments with elderly people. I have one who's working through DCS right now. He's one of the supervisors there. There's one that's in the schools. He's one of the principals at one of our local schools around here. So there are a lot of different ways to open doors and make it work for that individual, depending on what his interest is and what he likes.
We're going to have to cut it off now, but what I want to do is to thank this panel. Don't go anywhere yet. And I want to reiterate the excitement that we have at the Calumet Township Trustee's Office with Trustee Atkins' leadership to begin our partnership in January, building on the work that precedent that then trustee, now Congressman Mervan, set at North Township, where they had your students working in their office. We're looking to do the same. And so we've already discussed a variety of proposals to have bachelor and master's degree students working in our office, helping us to do what we do better, but also ensuring that we strengthen the relationship in terms of the social safety net by using the talent, right, that Professor Harris is helping to shepherd, right, and develop within our very community. So we're very excited about that partnership. As part of today, if you've been here all day, you've heard a lot about federal funding and funding cuts and the importance of the federal government, and by virtue of the federal government, the state government, in supporting the food bank, right, and supporting some of the grants that Faith Farms has gotten, and supporting the home and the CDBG dollars that help for home ownership and affordable housing within the city of Gary. We're very honored that our congressman, who knows a lot about the mission of the Township Trustee's Office, has been able to join us today. So I'm going to ask him to come up and briefly bring us greetings and to give us an update about what's happening in Washington. Congressman Frank Mervan. also put him on the spot.
My main goal is to, today, was just to show my support for Trustee Atkins. Mr. Godwin hit the nail on the head. We are on the most uncertain of times financially for programs that benefit the most vulnerable populations. And so there have been clawbacks or rescissions, but most importantly, the key word I would use is uncertainty for providing federal resources to those who need it most. And so currently we're on the shutdown process, which will make it even more difficult. But I kind of want to talk about the sunshiny things about what we do. Calumet Township is now going to be a leader of Beacon, and the less funding we have federally, the less funding we have statewide for the township, the more important it is to create relationships that bring us together, so that we utilize and strengthen our dollars so that we can help that family that needs food, that needs rent, that needs utilities. So ultimately, nothing about today is about me. But what I want you to leave knowing is that you have an advocate that's going to fight for the funding that's available. Each member of Congress has the ability to fight for community-funded projects. Some examples of what I have brought back: the Gary Police Department, about $10 million for license plate readers, for cameras, for technology. The YMCA, which is going to be a world-class YMCA in Gary, in the Tullison District. $30 million, 20 of that came from the American Rescue Plan, 10 from the city of Gary, 10 from the state, 10 from private funding. That's going to be something that I just want to talk common sense. You talk about childcare, affordable childcare. The YMCA and the Boys and Girls Club, they provide affordable childcare, secure childcare for our children to go to so that families can work and provide for themselves. So all I want to do today is to support and honor Trustee Atkins in her mission to be able to be present here today and to support and honor all of you for what you do for the community. This is a phenomenal showing of people that are standing up for the most vulnerable populations. And the fact of the matter is that you're going to see this weekend news reports that are going to show 600,000 people in the state of Indiana may go without SNAP. So let's just add insult to injury. Our fight on the shutdown of the government is they are taking away the tax credits from Obamacare. They have found a way to eliminate health care access to individuals who are on the Affordable Care Act or Obamacare. So now what they're going to do is double down and take SNAP away from individuals who need it most. So there is a deprioritization of our most vulnerable, and we have to come together to prove how strong we are in order to provide for those families. So churches, social services, and the township trustee is going to be probably at ground zero when that happens. So God bless all of you, and again, I humbly stopped by for just a couple minutes to show my support for the trustee and to be able to say how willing I am to work with her to make sure that we move forward together in supporting our community. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much to Congressman Van, who always shows up and has for many years advocated on behalf of the most vulnerable, both as North Township trustee and now as our congressman of the 1st Congressional District. Give him another round of applause for all the work that he does every day. Very difficult work in Washington, D.C. Again, I want to thank our panelists. I'm going to ask the trustee to come up. We're going to take a picture together, and we'll then transition to our next panel. As the trustee comes up, I did want to highlight another area of action that we have taken since our May symposium. One of the things that we wanted to do was to rebuild and build new relationships, ultimately that would help the residents of our township. And one of those was with Work One, an Indiana Career Connect, which are right down the street from us. And so we met with them about 4 times, starting in June and over the course of the summer, to try to really enhance what is our Job Search Works program, so that when folks come to our office in need of services, in need of resources, where applicable, we're able to route them to employment opportunities. And I see Ms. Redmond. Can you stand up, Ms. Redmond, who works in our job search works department. The manager of our job search works department. Give her a hand. And so she is vital in working with residents every day, right? Who are job ready or need to become job ready. And so we are now working in partnership with Work One to provide job readiness, right? Resume writing, interviewing skills, making sure they have all the soft skills, right? The wraparound services that are necessary to not only get a job, but to keep a job, right? And to ideally progress within that job and remain skilled in ways that you are increasingly employable. So far, we've had about 30 of our residents to work in tandem with Indiana Career Connect. We started this right after Labor Day. And so we're going to continue to grow that initiative, strengthen it, and you will hear more and more about it. So we're now going to transition to our next panel, but I want to get a photo with these great panelists from IUN. And if there's anybody who's ready to become a student again, make sure you see Ms. Harris. And she told me she's had students who were even in their 60s come back and get their bachelor or master's degree. Because they wanted to do this very, very important work. Let's give it up for Harris and Harris on the work that you all do every day for our communities. We're now, if you want to get a second, we got some more box lunches over there. We have some more snacks as we transition to our very important workforce development panel, okay? Can we have some music, and then we will begin our next panel. Williams is parking right now. So thankful that our Congressman Mervan was able to join us today. That was a pleasant surprise, wasn't it?
It was.
Always good to see Mr. Mervan. Don't forget to turn in your surveys. Want to make sure we have those. See, the Calumet Township Assessor's Office is represented here today. Good to see you, Chief Deputy. Thank you for being here. All right, let's get started. We are now have reached our final panel, which deals with workforce development. It is entitled The Future of Work in Northwest Indiana, Career and Technical Education, Opportunity Youth, and Industry Partnerships. We have three great panelists, all of whom are highly qualified to speak on this topic. We'll begin with Mr. Derek Bodley, Director of Career and Technical Education at the Gary Area Career Center, part of Gary Community Schools Corporation. He's a seasoned educator with over 20 years of dedicated service in both general and career and technical education. From the Midwest, he initially built a professional foundation in the culinary and hospitality industries before pursuing higher education. He holds a bachelor's degree in organization management from Calumet College of St. Joseph and a master's degree in education from Purdue University. For 15 years, he excelled as a hospitality management and culinary arts instructor, guiding students towards successful careers within the hospitality sector. His commitment to preparing young scholars underscores his dedication to shaping future leaders. As we already heard, he's the Director of Career and Technical Education for our local public school system. We also have, give it up for Mr. Bodley. We also have Ms. Adrienne Carroll, who is the Director of Adult Education for Neighbors Educational Opportunities, NEO for short. She has over 16 years of experience as an adult educator, with 10 years of experience as an ABE, Adult Basic Education teacher, and 6 years of experience as the Director of Adult Education at NEO, Adult Education and Training. She holds a master's degree in Adult and Community Education, as well as Executive Development for Public Service. Give it up for Ms. Carroll. Lastly, but certainly not least, we have Mr. Travis Williams, Representative for the Central Midwest Carpenters and Executive Officer, a proud product of Gary, Indiana. Travis Williams is dedicated to serving his community both professionally and personally. From Charles R. Drew Elementary School to William A. Work High School, class of 2007, Travis has always been committed to the values of hard work, integrity, and community pride. Now serving as a representative for the Central Midwest Carpenters Council of Carpenters and as Executive Officer of Local 1005. He uses his leadership to advocate for local workers, promote skilled labor, and uplift the voices of those in the trades. So let us begin this conversation. Let me start with this question. We have someone from the union community, we have someone from adult education, and we have someone who's educating in the K-12 or at least the secondary high school context. If you were master ruler of the universe and you could change anything or implement anything that would have a positive impact on the future of work or workforce development in our community, what would that one or those two things be that you would do and why? We'll start with you, Derek.
So obviously I'm in education, so we are educating a different child. You know, the value systems have changed post-COVID, and I know we want to move away from those things, but I want to make sure that our students have equity in what we're doing. You may have opportunities, but you don't know if that equity. So if we can help ensure that. And the other thing is just educating the entire community on what education looks like today. It's a little bit different. Although there's some fundamental things, we want to make sure that folks are educated consistently and that they understand that that's a lifelong endeavor and continue to work together in a positive.
Thank you. Adrienne?
For me, I would reduce barriers to education. Like Mr. Bodley, I am in education, and There are so many barriers to my students. My students are a little bit older. They are not your typical K-12 student. Maybe they don't have a high school diploma, maybe they do, but all of them have things outside in their real world that blocks them from attending on a regular basis. We've heard about childcare, there's transportation, even their job. If they're working 3 jobs just to try to make ends meet, they cannot come to my class on a regular basis to be able to reach those academic goals they set for themselves, and those goals are what's going to launch them into a better economic place, into a better career place. Just earning your HSE, your high school equivalency, it translates to an annual increase of over $8,000. And students with barriers, they can't access that. So I would wave my magic wand and remove all barriers.
Can you say what some of those barriers are?
Childcare and transportation are the 2 biggest ones that I see. And while we at NEO try very hard to have classes in multiple communities, we are in Portage, Gary, East Chicago, Chesterton, Valpo. We offer hybrid classes where they come in person, where they do distance learning. We offer daytime classes, evening classes. That amount of flexibility sometimes still isn't enough to allow a student to attend consistently enough. If they're distance learners, they might not have the appropriate tools. They might not have a laptop, they might not have internet, they might be trying to come to a location like the library that has free internet. It's all about access, and our students are lacking the ability to access it on their own time, or they're having barriers to being able to access it when we offer it.
Thank you. Travis?
So if you don't mind me asking, can you repeat the question?
Yes, if you could wave a magic wand, if you were master or ruler of the universe, what would you change or implement in Northwest Indiana? It can be more than one thing that would have a positive impact on workforce development.
Oh, I know for Gary specifically, I think, as a union representative, I will be more and more involved. I wish the trades were more and more involved in the community. I feel like we should have had a huge investment in our building trades program years ago. So that's one of the things that I wish I can wave my magic wand and hope that it was in existence. But we need more and more opportunities, more and more pathway programs for people to transition into the different trades, not just the carpenters union, but for other trades as well.
Thank you. One of the questions, we met a few days ago, we always meet before the meeting, just to make sure we know each other, we have a sense of the issues and challenges, so we actually produce a useful conversation. And I asked them, did they know each other before this symposium, and what were your answers? And I want to ask you why you didn't know each other.
So the answer between the obviously is no. It's really about having those opportunities or creating those opportunities to make sure we're out networking with the right folks like my colleagues here to make sure that we are creating every opportunity and a variety of opportunities. So things like this help that process.
Same, no, I didn't know either of these gentlemen on either side of me. And I think sometimes we work in silos. We're working with our own population, and we know the value of the other silos, but it's sometimes hard to get out. So I truly appreciate the opportunity to be here, getting out of my silo and meeting people who work with the same population I do, who care deeply about that population, and hopefully we can work together to help that population.
For me, absolutely, I did not know any of these individuals. Shockingly, as I travel around a lot, it's just ignorance. A lot of times I think, which I've been discovering, a lot of people don't know exactly what we do. So we need more and more panel discussions like this. We need more and more hands-on involvement where we bring in all of our resources in Northwest Indiana together, because when you see that happen, so you have more and more impact, because we all, like she said, we operate in too many silos in Northwest Indiana. We've got a lot of great things happening out here in Northwest Indiana.
Let me ask you, Derek, so when we say career and technical education at our local public school system, what does that look like? What types of training are you offering? What types of programs are students interested in? What are areas you're trying to grow based on not only student interest, but also employer needs and expectations?
So first and foremost, I would love people to understand that if you don't understand career and technical education, we used to call it trades back in the day. Some of us still do that. However, there was a negative connotation at some point where the trades were where the kids that didn't go to a 4-year college would go. We gotta find something for them to do. Well, now we've kind of flipped the script on that, and now we have created pathways for anyone and everyone to engage in hands-on applications, engaging project-based learning, and we've put things in place so that even if you're not going to be a concentrator in career and technical education, you can use those skills to help graduate or lead into some sort of pathway that will give you skills that will help you in post-secondary life. So some of our most popular programs currently now is cosmetology, barbering. We have a wonderful aviation program with is extremely cutting-edge technology. We have a criminal justice program with a new system that costs us over $300,000. It's called a virtual system, where the community can come out to the Gary Area Career Center and be engaged in these scenarios that help with making judgment calls in a split second. Also, automotive is always one that goes really well. Graphic design is very popular right now, so we're growing those programs, but it's often difficult to find teachers for some programs. Unfortunately, there's a lot of transitioning in terms of CTE, so right now we're really looking for a welding teacher, so we have to outsource those things to other places like the Ivy Tech, which is a partner, but we'd like to have it on campus, and currently we are looking for a another welding and automotive teacher that we can open up those programs, so yeah.
It's great. Let me ask you, Adrian, you're at Flourish Church in Gary. You all are in Portage and other areas as well. When you look at your Gary location, what types of training have you been providing there? Where do you want to take it? What types of things do you want to offer in the future? And how might some of those activities relate to what's happening in the school system?
So right now at Flourish Church, we offer a high school equivalency class. We offer your traditional class and a fast track to HSE, which can be as little as 12 hours of attendance. We haven't offered any of our free training programs in Gary as of yet because we've been building the class there. Our teacher is fantastic and she's very open to doing our certified logistics technician class and our carpentry pre-apprenticeship in Gary. We're working on getting her trained for those. Right now, our Gary location has been small. I don't think people know that we exist there. And it is very hard to, one, spread our teacher too thin. We want quality education. And two, have our teacher teach something for one person. So the more we can build that class, the more people know that we exist, the more I'll be able to funnel into that location. So like I said, right now it is your high school equivalency. Again, that can launch you into a multitude of things. It can increase your economic, overall, your annual, yearly and economic intake. It can help you access better jobs. It can get you into pathways such as an apprenticeship, such as some of the certification programs. But that's what we're offering right now. I do think that the way the Flourish Church class can help, especially in that K-12 space, is the K-12 space has parents, and they have parents who might need their high school equivalency. Maybe they want to go back to school, but it's been a minute and they don't remember usually the math. And we can do academic remediation for free, even if you have a high school diploma. We can help that parent get some basic certifications. Like I said, we have the Certified Logistics Technician. We have the NATE and ATE, North American Technical Excellence, ready to work. It is an entry level, but it's a certification. And we have the Parapro, and this spring we plan on launching in Portage the carpentry pre-apprenticeship. once we perfect it there, then we're gonna spread out. Did I answer all the questions?
You did.
Excellent.
There's something that we talked about in terms of the welding
Yes.
need as well, which might be
Yes.
a possible partnership that will come out of this relationship.
Yes, I have a lot of my students say they'd like to go into welding, and there have been partnerships between CTE programs and adult education programs where the adult education program will hire the CTE teacher for an evening class, and our students will access the CTE building, utilize that teacher's expertise, get that training, and it benefit the whole community. The students are getting it during the day, the adults are getting it at night, and that's a partnership I would absolutely love to look at.
Thank you. Travis, there's a lot of misconceptions about unions, right? Like, how do they work? When we talk about our students being interested in the trades, they come to you, right? Or someone sends them to you, and a lot of times they're not necessarily prepared, right? Or don't know what to expect. We know that in our community, and this is a nationwide trend, a lot of folks, it's a family tradition, right? Their granddad was a carpenter or an electrician or a plumber, and they just pass down that knowledge and those relationships, and therefore those opportunities. And a lot of folks in our community don't have that lineage, right, in terms of the union space. Can you kind of demystify the union hall for us? And what does it look like for someone who's 18, right, or 25, that says, I want to be a carpenter. I hear this Lake County Convention Center is coming. I need to be in this space. Someone told me I can earn a living wage. And they come in front of you, Travis. Kind of take us through what that process looks like.
So I want to start off by saying, you see me smiling because I'm passionate about what I do. I love being a union carpenter. But this is the beauty, and I'm going to answer the question, but this is the beauty of being up here on this panel, because what she's talking about, this is news. This is how partnerships are developed. I remember meeting Pastor Walton at an event. He's got a church right here in Gary, Indiana, Faith Hope Temple. Long story short, we have an articulation pathway program with that program. Follow on with that, 6 months later, we had a female individual, Shalea Johnson. I'm gonna pub her because she's got that it factor. Born and raised in Gary, Indiana. She's currently she's just wrapped up a job out in East Chicago, but she's gonna be probably going out to the FedEx project, all because of the pathway programs that people like this is creating and the partnerships that they're creating. And so that's why this is impactful for us to bring our resources together in Northwest Indiana. So to answer your question, because I get a lot of people that want to join the trade, but it's not prepared. That's why I'm heavy on mentoring. I want to see more and more programs that get people prepared before they even get to my point. Because a lot of times, you know, I don't like putting myself, because of my title, on a different pedestal, but my time is important. I can't always take a phone call and the conversation goes, don't know it. You don't know anything about what you're trying to get into. So I try to instill that. So I take the time. Usually it might take 15 to 30 minutes, phone call conversations, and just try to help that person. Because I tell them, like, hey, usually if you call a representative of the trade, not everybody might be open-minded to try to help you. Sometimes people might hang up the phone and tell you try again later, but I know you sound like you really want this opportunity, so I'm trying to help guide you in the right direction. So hey, hang up the phone, go to the website, and do a little bit of research. You have to have that want to better yourself and want to learn the craft, because when you have this in the right direction, everything else is going to fall in place. You don't have to have experience when you join in a trade union. That's the whole purpose of the apprenticeship program. It's amazing when you do have the experience, but you can have zero experience. I don't expect a kid out of high school, 18 years old, or even 17 years old, to know how to build a house. You just got to be able to show up to work and pay attention, ask questions, show up on time, have all the soft skills to be successful. So that's one of the things I'm really passionate about. I want to see programs like you guys. It's more than just swinging a hammer. I want you to teach people to how to be a good person in your community, how to be a people's person, how to, when you show up to work in the morning, say good morning to people, shake people's hands, put a smile on your face. That's part of also being a proud union member. So, you know, I love stuff like that. So what it looks like within our organization when a person joins, let's say a young person, it doesn't matter if you're 18 years old or brought a 56-year-old into the organization. It's a 4-year apprenticeship program. You go progress through that apprenticeship program. Every year you receive a 10% raise. So by the time you top out, after 4 years, you also receive an associate's degree in applied science. So it's another false narrative that people don't understand. We're professionals. We're professional corporates. We have college degrees. We also have contractors that will invest in you depending on how much investment that you have with that particular company that you're working for. We got contractors that send our members back to Purdue Northwest for construction management degrees. But they're not going to do that if you don't put forth an effort. So it's a lot of opportunity out there, and that's kind of some of the things in a nutshell what it looks like within this organization. I hope I answered your question. I tried to.
And it prompts another question. You know, a lot of our young people, and this feels weird saying that, they are concerned about money, right? They want to make a lot of money, right? Social media, everybody wants to have the big house, the fancy car, the big life, right? And so for a lot of them, they want to be entrepreneurs, right? They want to be influencers, right? Whatever they think will help them to yield a lot of money and give maximum flexibility, right, in terms of their life and lifestyle. What are some of the soft skills, and you alluded to some of those, that all of you see lacking, whether the student is 15, 16, or as you said, someone as recently as 56, right, that you have joined the union. What are the soft skills that you see we need to work on as a community in all our different organizations? We can start with you, Derek.
So I see it every day. You know, we not only focus on the technical skills, but none of that's going to matter if you don't show up. None of that's going to matter if you don't know what customer service looks like. So they need a lot of that. But a lot of it's just simply people skills. You say soft skills, I say people skills. Simply because we have been inundated with technology where those are no longer life skills. So we have to deprogram sometimes and take the time out with these young people and let them know that these are the things that are going to get you to the table and keep you at the table. But you need models. You need to be very intentional in making sure you're balancing those things out. Because what we understand is we got to meet our young people where they are. If your goal is to be that entrepreneur, we need to talk about what it really takes to get there and how you know, all the things that it's going to take to keep you there. But yeah, those are just as important, those skills, those people skills, just as those you know, technical skills. So we're very intentional. So by the time that they meet a Mr. Williams or Ms. Carroll, they are prepared for those things. But again, if I don't know what I don't know, then someone's got to help me with that.
Thank you. Adrian?
I agree with people skills. I think a lot of my students, they struggle with communication, whether it is knowing how to communicate effectively to a teacher or to a interviewer. They're struggling with that basic communication skill. I mentioned we have barriers to students attending class. We don't hold that against our students, but our students don't know how to call off or let their teacher know that they're not coming in. We're not going to kick them out, but that is a skill that they just don't seem to understand. And being on time, there too, we understand some of our students have kids. We understand that some schools have late start days or early release days, and being able to create their own personal schedule and stick to it is a challenge. So those are some of the soft skill gaps that I've seen.
It's a good one. Just like you guys, communication. I'm always preaching communication. Just communicate. You know, it's difficult for a lot of people to do. Just what people don't know, we don't know. Just ask the question. Like, a lot of times, I always tell members, and I try to get my own members to understand this, take my title out of it. I want you to have a conversation with me. I hate when I pick up the phone and say, oh man, I'm sorry to take up your time. No, you're not taking up my time. I'm here. How can I help you? Communicate what you need. I'm here to help you. So a lot of people struggle at communicating. And one other thing is you have to have the initiative to put forth the effort. You know, what you put into is what you get out of. It's that simple. And a lot of these young people, they don't have that hit factor. So, you know, you just got to want it.
Another thing that was not said, but I'm very well aware of, a lot of everybody actually, right, are using marijuana. Let's just put that out there, right? A lot of folks are, you know, edibles, right? It's legal in Illinois, it's legal in Michigan, right? That doesn't mean it's happening everywhere. And there are a lot of professions that are high growth, that pay very well, but they have drug tests, right? And so how are you sort of dealing with that particular issue? How are we educating, even from the high school standpoint, to say, hey, I know you're having fun with your friends, I know this is going on, but if you want specific careers, whether it's in healthcare or transportation and logistics, this is not going to work. So how have those conversations been? Where do you see that headed in the future, given the prevalence of marijuana and other controlled substance use across the country?
I think it's just education, mentorship, asking students, if you really want to be that entrepreneur, what are you willing to give up for that? What are you willing to sacrifice? Because you're going to be in a meeting at some point. You may be in that situation where you're going to get that drug test. Is that worth it enough to you? But again, that just needs education on how it's going to benefit you or how it's going to be a con to you. So just being that person that is going to lay it out for a student, what are you willing, what conditions are you willing to put up with? And if giving up those particular things gets you to your ultimate goal, then this is what it's going to take.
Thank you.
I agree. Education and mentorship, having those conversations about this is the career that you said you wanted to go into, and here are the expectations of that career. Are you willing to adhere to those expectations? Are you willing to rise to those expectations? Having that hard conversation and letting the student know that it's okay to change your mind. You know, if you cannot live up to those expectations, there are other things out there for you, but maybe they won't offer as many opportunities. Maybe it won't give the economic growth that they're looking for. Having those real facts and figures and showing them how they can grow by making the choices that are in their best interest.
Travis?
That was amazing. So within our organization, and all the trades actually use it in Northwest Indiana, we all have a BCRC program. So it's very stern. Anybody that...
Can you break that down, what that means?
BCRC is, I don't know exactly what it stands for, but it's a pre-employment drug testing program that all of the trades in Northwest Indiana utilize, where members can receive up to 2 randoms a year. So it's very well put out there that, hey, in order for you to join this apprenticeship program, you're gonna have to go take a test. Now, I'm very boots on the ground, so I like to, I'm everywhere, because I want to let people know, like, hey, do not get to my point and I send you out to a BCRC and you ruin your opportunity, because now you got to wait a whole year before you can even be reconsidered. And honestly, if I sent you out and you wasn't open and honest with me, I can't trust you. So within this organization, it's a true brother and sisterhood. When I'm working right here, I have to trust her right behind my back, whether you have an obstacle behind me where I might have hurt myself. So we have to communicate. I have to have that level of trust. So drug tests, weed, that's a 0 tolerance. Well, I'm not gonna sit up here and act like it's people out there that's not trying to bend the system, but it's not acceptable in the industry at all.
Can you say more about the pay? I know that there's an increasing interest in the trades among young people. I think we are seeing colleges and universities sort of get smaller. We know there's an enrollment cliff that's happening because of the birth rates 18 to 20 years ago. And so many people are looking at, okay, where are the actual jobs, right? And do I need a 4-year liberal arts education to be employable, right? To earn a living wage. And so that's a real question that a lot of 18-year-olds, right, are asking themselves, do I want to go to college or do I want to go to the trades? And we know that earning potential is a big deal. Can you say a little bit about what earning potential looks like from the moment you sort of enter that union hall and progress through, I know it's different for every profession, but kind of a general overview of what that looks like.
Man, I brought a kid in at 17 years old, and I looked at him and his mother. I said, I am excited. I might be more excited than you. He's 17 years old, making $27.55. That's not even total package. Total package is well over $50. A 17-year-old kid. So, I think we're at the point, and I only can speak for my organization, we've been heavy in the schools where we've been bringing a lot of kids in, and they own peers that's freshmen, sophomores, seniors, they experiencing their peers making all kinds of money, and we have a huge influx of a lot of young people wanting to join the trades, and not even just young people, a lot of females are joining the trade. Our percentage on females have increased drastically, and just minorities in general. 2 months ago, my senior representative brought to my attention, he said, hey, you know where the highest road apprentices enrolled in our apprenticeship program is from? I said, no, tell me who. He said, Gary, Indiana. I looked at him and smiled. I said, things are starting to align, because I'm out there educating these kids and letting them know about the opportunities, and I'm bringing the peers in, not even just the peers, the girlfriends, the husbands, and things are changing. So a lot of people are seeing what they can achieve, and then when I go on to tell them, hey, that same contractor that you're working for, that's a carpenter. So that's things that you can also achieve. You see all the different things that's happening in Gary, the homes. You can invest in the rental property. You can invest in the home. You can invest in the business. So people are all starting to see the amount of money that we're making, and we just recently had the highest wage that we negotiated for our members over the next 3 years, and a lot of people are really taking advantage of it. So, you know, the sky is the limit. The sky is the limit. I don't know if I answered your question.
Oh, you
I went off
did,
the tangent.
you did. Adrian and Derek, in terms of the different professions that you all are emphasizing and working on, and you, Derek, with the ones that students are interested in, how are you seeing sort of earning potential weigh into your students' decisions about what trade they want to focus on?
So that information is always at our fingertips. You know, so we present it when we're training our students. Of course, sometimes it's scale, and then there's sometimes it's just an entry level where you have great opportunity from apprentice to, you know, owning your own operation. So while that is a flexible thing, it's typically current where you can go and you can determine, but you know, you have a lot of options now. There's a lot of pathways to the money you want to make. And while years ago it was a little taboo to have that conversation, today they want the bag. So they need to understand what I need to do to get there and keep that kind of money.
Thank you.
So Neo Adult Education and Training is relatively new to the training space. And we've started off with the entry-level certifications that could be stackable. They could create a pathway. You can get into an entry-level position, work your way through the next certification and the next one. We did have one of our students came in for our NATE Ready to Work. It is a very entry-level certification with basic tools, skills, basic HVAC skills, and soft skills. He got hired at Albany's Candy Factory because that certification was flagged on his resume. He started as your baseline worker, working the overnight shift, and has been promoted twice, now works days, very much loves his job, and is happy to continue to grow there. He's not looking for anything else. He knows there's still growth potential at Albany's. So we're starting small, we're starting slow, but we are absolutely looking to expand. But our goal is to help our students get their foot in the door somewhere that they can grow.
Absolutely. Earlier during our discussion in terms of social work, I mentioned AI, artificial intelligence, and how that's going to transform, it's already transforming our workforce and the opportunities that will increasingly be available and not be available, right? Even some of the knowledge careers. A lot of us grew up and our teachers told us, you're not going to work at a factory. You're not going to work with your hands. You're not going to create things. You're going to be in the knowledge economy, the information economy. So what you think, your ability to write and communicate, which are important soft skills, right? But in terms of that being your whole job, right? The ability to creatively think and project manage. We all thought we would do that, right? Forever. And then we've increasingly seen how AI is transforming those opportunities and eliminating, right, a lot of jobs that have existed for a long time. One of the conversations has been is that the trades, you know, are likely, at least for the next 10 to 20 years, we've seen robots building homes, right, and things like that. But there's a discussion about the trades sort of being the next opportunity for many people, and certainly for folks who are beginning to enter the workforce. Travis and all of you, what are you seeing in terms of the job growth in technical fields for Northwest Indiana, and how are your organizations preparing for the AI shift?
So, we don't see a lot of AI in the carpentry world, but technology is advancing in the construction industry. Like when it comes to like blueprints, it's rare that you can see paper blueprints nowadays. They have digital things in place to where, you know, it might be an open room and you got laser lines just on the ground. So as things advance, we try to keep up with that curve, and we offer that training at our facility here in Northwest Indiana. But you know, we constantly communicating with manufacturers. Anytime we see or have a contract out there that have an upcoming project that's got some kind of new technology, we try to attract that technology so we can start training our members immediately before the job starts. So you know, we're constantly paying attention to things, but it's not like other industries. We're not really affected by it. You know, you can't replace a hammer with AI. I mean, it doesn't really affect us that hard. But construction technology is advancing.
Thank you.
For our students, we notice there is a digital skills gap, and all of our training programs come with soft skills training, so some of those things that we've talked about earlier, and digital skills training. Some of that digital skills training does include AI. I believe AI is a tool, and like any tool, it can be a weapon in the wrong hands, so we try to show our students how to utilize it ethically and not overuse it. Your brain is the most powerful tool that you have, and unfortunately AI sometimes, one, takes that power away, and two, isn't always accurate. AI is very biased, and if you don't check it on a regular basis, it will give you that confirmation bias. It wants you to be right, so unless you're constantly checking it. So we try to teach our students, it isn't perfect, it isn't always accurate, and you've got to check it on the regular. But digital skills building is part of every single training that we offer.
Thank you. And it's funny because you remember 10 years ago we were talking about the digital divide. And we saw that a lot during COVID, where many of our students who were already struggling really got behind. And it became very obvious that in this community and many others like it, there's a tremendous amount of folks who don't have access to high-speed internet, right? And we were at one point on the council, there were proposals to put internet at the park pavilions, right? People could pull up to do their homework, right? And so COVID, the pandemic, really revealed a lot of the inequities around digital access. And so if you don't even have the internet, right, being able to use responsibly or however ChatGPT and some of the other technologies that are going to be almost assumed by the time one gets to college or even high school, you're really at a strong disadvantage. So that's a very good point. Travis?
You know, it's interesting you said that, because we do got a lot of older guys in that organization that struggle, because like all of our apprentices are now using iPads, and everything is becoming more and more digital, so we have to train our older guys that's been in to get them acclimated to, you know, like, hey, you know, this is what the industry is getting geared towards. So you got to sink or swim, you got to figure it out.
Absolutely. Derek?
So I think our young people understand perhaps more than we may think. When we talk to hiring executives, some of the things that they're looking for in terms of characteristics or skill sets often involves adaptability and flexibility and creativity. You know, you have to problem solve and all those sorts of things. So we try to educate our students on the fact that we're not only training you for jobs today, but we're training you for jobs of the future. And you have to be ready for those changes. I think CTE is where AI is going to hit last, honestly, because as my colleague pointed out, there's certain things that AI won't be able to do. And even in the case of AI, there still is a requirement or a need for programming to some degree. So, you know, we're going to always evolve. You know, technology, we move from an industrial setting to now more technological, and it's just consistently growing. But I don't think we need to be afraid. I think we need to be prepared.
Thank you. What are some of the fields in particular that you see growing currently, where there are significant demands, where employers are saying, look, we can't find enough of this, or find enough of folks with this particular skill set? When we think about, someone mentioned earlier, Travis, the FedEx facility that will be opening in here. If we think about the Lake County Convention Center, We think about even the hospitality and tourism industry, right? We're going to have a new hotel at some point at our Hard Rock, Northern Indiana, right? So, and even currently with the, I'll just say the immigration crisis, right? We're hearing employers and employer groups talk about the inability to have folks in agriculture and in the restaurant industry and so many other industries where folks are saying we have a shortage. So how are we as either workforce development entities, whatever our role is, whether it's training, whether it's the job itself, how are we preparing our community for the jobs of the future that will be needed here in Northwest Indiana? And what are some of those jobs that you're hearing about from employers and other sort of job workforce development agencies? Anybody can start.
I was just thinking, there's a lot of the jobs that's actually happened, that's coming up, it's not things that's out of the norm. Construction process is still the same as any other commercial or light industrial and development. But I will say it is a heavy, next year is definitely gonna be a heavy push for us to send more and more members out to like the steel mills, the refineries, and with like these data centers that's coming up. And these things are happening on a larger scale to where, I mean, you're hearing it straight from me, we're bringing people in every week, literally, every week, to meet the demands of these jobs that's out there. We're fortunate enough to be able to do so with the different pathway programs that's out there, but, you know, drywall, metal stud, metal framing, flooring, and actually, you know what, now that I thought about it, actually insulated metal panels is actually one of the things that I see that's been happening more and more in our area to the point where we've signed 4 new contractors from out of state that focus on work here within Northwest Indiana. So all those huge white buildings that you see along I-65, those are insulated metal panels for the most part that I'm explaining, and it's a lot more that's coming. We actually recently, last year, implemented that training into our facility to start training more and more members. And that's another thing that a lot of people don't understand. The amount of work that we do in the Carpenters Union, we cannot offer all the training at our facility, like when it comes to underwater welding. We don't do that out here, so we're only gonna focus on the things that we do here in Northwest Indiana. So insulated metal panels is another hot one in the construction industry.
I gotta Google that. I have been seeing those buildings.
Yeah.
As well as we know the data center movement is growing, because the other thing about AI that a lot of folks don't realize, yeah, you type in a prompt and you get a response in 2 seconds or 3 seconds. That's unbelievable, right? But that's environmental usage, right? There's something behind that that's actually allowing that technology to happen that might be far away from you. So it's not just your cell phone and the electricity you're using on your cell phone. There are servers, and I'm probably not using the right technical terms, that are actually making that happen, right? And so,
So I'm like a young guy in office. So we actually start utilizing AI more and more, and it's actually very effective when you're doing early job interventions. When you're trying to seek information, that AI tool is very useful to, you know, like she said, you still have to, you know, control what it do, because it's not completely accurate, but it's able to free up a lot of time that we used to spend trying to get information. Now I'm able to get that same information that it took an hour, I might be able to get it in 10 minutes now. So it's very helpful for us in the organization from a leadership standpoint.
thank you.
Adult education is run by the Department of Workforce Development, so we're a little bit different. We're not under the IDOE, we're under the IDWD. I hear a lot from the DWD about the hotter jobs in Northwest Indiana, and one of the big ones I'm hearing is actually the medical field. From, you know, a lot of them CNAs, CMMAs, there aren't enough nurses, and while we can't jump straight into a nursing degree, we can help with that ladder. So starting with a CNA or a CMMA, or CCMA, sorry, and having them work their way up, working, going to school, getting that nursing degree. But medical has been huge. It's one of the top ones that I've been hearing from the DWD. And unfortunately, in adult education, I do not believe there are at this time any free medical certifications. It's something that I know I'm looking into, and the other fiscal agent in Region 1 is also looking into, but to my knowledge, we don't have one at this time.
Do you know why that is, or what do you think that is?
A big part of it is funding. Realistically, the medical certifications are more expensive. When we are offering them for free to our students, we have to have the funding to be able to pay for it. Additionally, we're talking about a very specialized skill set. So when you're looking at CNA or CCMA, you have to have a nurse teaching that class, and that is a very expensive person to hire. And we heard about, Congressman Ravan was here and he mentioned the shutdowns, the clawbacks, things like that. That happened to adult ed as well. Our funding was cut this year, and we are expected to do more with less. I'm not complaining, we're doing everything we can, but it's a gap. And on the federal side, they were looking to eliminate adult education funds in the budget. So this is something, funding's the biggest problem.
Makes sense, Derek?
So we're still getting a lot of interest on both sides from employers, and we look at current data as well. There's still a lot of interest in networking, coding, and computer information, much to the point where we won a grant last year that we're embedding new programs into our computer information programs at the middle school. So it's still the hot topic, and just there's so many avenues that you can go into, and it applies to so many things from all programs, all CTE programs. So that's still the hot ticket right now. But we also hear about those jobs or those industries, where the interest is dying down, or the need, whether it be locally, regionally, or nationally. So we try to stay abreast of what's going on and where the greatest need are. But technology, networking, coding is still pretty hot button jobs.
And you have a background in culinary and hospitality.
I do.
Can you talk about student interest in those fields and what you're seeing in terms of, that's one where we know there's going to be great demand and there's current demand. How do you see from a preparation standpoint, the school system, but also organizations like NEO helping to assist with that?
So, again, from a more traditional industrial sort of, hands-on application, you're starting to see some of those incorporations of technology. I was in Atlanta this past summer, and my colleagues and I went to a restaurant, and it was a robot that brought our meal to our table. So, oh yeah. All right. Shout out to them. Food was it too. But on top of that, you start to see the application of those, and you see a lot of test kitchens coming up now, where a lot of things are being tested. That's a new avenue for people in food service. But food service and hospitality go hand in hand, and with all the projects just locally coming about, those are going to be great opportunities. But technology is certainly being more incorporated into the traditional food service applications.
Thank you. One last question, and then we're going to open it up to the audience. One of the issues we heard earlier in our food access panel was one around transportation being a particular challenge. And in our call a few days ago, many of you also mentioned transportation as a challenge. Can you, from your individual perspectives, say more about that? And then audience, think about your questions, because we're going to have audience questions immediately after. Sure, Derek, go ahead.
So for me, a great part of our programs, I'm currently doing what's known as a comprehensive local needs assessment. This is a mandate from the state every 2 years to list my programs, and then they're measured on quality, scope, and enrollment and things like that, and quality and assessments and things like that. So this pretty much determines how we get our funding from the Perkins grants and so forth. So some of the things we have to look at is, are we able to provide opportunities to all students? Now, we can have opportunities, but the question is, do you have equity? So we were trying to be very efficient and very creative. So there's some opportunities for students to get work-based learning. However, we don't often have all of what we need in terms of getting those students back and forth to those particular sites. So here's where my colleagues come in, and great thing about networking, can be creative, and then we can talk about some partnerships and things like that. But just as we heard earlier, there's some programs being cut. One of our community partners, we partner with Purdue, with a program, Gear Up, is no longer a funding option for us. So what Gear Up would do is give specifically Gary community school kids starting at 8th grade opportunities to come to the Career Center at middle school, and we would give them opportunities to explore, so that would be a pipeline to our programs and so forth. But with that funding, we're gonna have to be a bit more creative and partner up and try to find ways that we can give those kids opportunities. So, because you don't learn it all in the classroom, you need to apply it. You need to go into real businesses and see how things really work so that you can get a real clear idea of what's gonna be expected from you as you go into post-secondary life.
Thank you.
For me, being we're in multiple community locations, we try to make the locations as accessible as possible. With our students, the ones who are signing up, chances are they had transportation when they signed up. Unfortunately, cars break down, their sister who was their ride took a new job, or the shift changed and can no longer provide the ride. That's what I see a lot of. Again, we've tried really hard to make sure that we are in different communities so that the ride isn't too far. It's not impossible to get that ride, but Portage doesn't have, that's where the main site is, it doesn't have a bus system. And that infrastructure really isn't in place in Northwest Indiana to have, to hop on a bus or hop on a train and get from one place to another. And that's why we've tried to be so flexible with offering different locations, day and evening classes, and our students, they can go from class to class. If they can get a ride in Gary one night and they can get a ride to Portage another night, we will work with them. If they can come during the day one day and come at night another day, we will work with them. If they can, do packet work or online work, we work with them. But a lot of times our students had something, it just broke down along the way.
Thank you. Travis?
So from my point of view, transportation is not a requirement in order to join the organization, but you have to be realistic. You have to be able to have reliable transportation to make it to and from work. Now, sadly, I've experienced it. A lot of people lose job opportunities because they can't make it to work. I even had an experience of an apprentice 2 years ago. His car broke down. He was working probably almost an hour away. He hopped on a bike and still made it to work. It blew my mind when I heard that story. A lot of people, in this particular job site, we have probably over 600 members on the job site. A lot of people from other trades caught wind of it and they brought him a vehicle. He's now a third-year apprentice. So things like that, he's got that hit factor. So I do run into a lot of people, that, blows my phone up, they end up joining and they come up with excuses that they can't make it to work, they don't have transportation. And you have to be realistic. That job don't stop for anybody. That contractor's expecting, if he's got 5 carpenters, he's expecting 5 carpenters to be there. If not, it's going to slow down the productivity of the job. So you have to have reliable transportation. So I understand that. So I try to reach out to different organizations. I know I've reached out to like United Way to see if they have resources to help people, get transportation, because a lot of times when people think of the trades, they think we have it because we make the amount of money that we make. And you got to think, a lot of times these are young apprentices, first-year apprentices, pre-apprentices. They don't have the resources to be able to go buy a reliable vehicle. So it's important in the trade. We got to have, if you guys know anything that's out there, let me know, because I want to be able to take that back to my membership to help them out as well. So.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. Questions from the audience, comments from the audience about workforce development? Anything you've heard on the panel? Inspiration? Anybody want to add anything? Everybody's tired? Well, I want to say thanks again to this very excellent panel. Before you leave, I'm going to have the trustee to come up and we're going to go ahead and offer closing remarks and announcements. Trustee Atkins, you come forward. I want to acknowledge Deputy Chief Ed Jenkins of the Lake County Sheriff's Department. Thank you for being here today. I know that law enforcement is another area. I remember when I was on the council, we struggled to recruit folks to become police officers and firefighters. So public safety is also another area of tremendous need that I don't think AI is going to be our police officers or our firefighters just yet. But that's another area we have to think about in terms of public safety, law enforcement, as well as fire protection services. Thank you again, Clerk Rags, for being here with us. I want to do a few things as we close out our program. First, I want to thank Trustee Atkins for giving us the authority and the approval, right, to put this event on. It took a lot of staff time and a lot of staff effort and other resources in order to put this day on as a follow-up to the work that we began with our first symposium in May. So thank you, Trustee Atkins, for your leadership, your vision, and your willingness to support these types of community activities. I also want to acknowledge the team I've been privileged to work with, again, at the trustee's discretion, to really help make this happen, right? So I want to acknowledge, where is our Director of Community Engagement, Ms. Kamisha Jackson? Could you please stand up back there? Also recognize our Chief Deputy, Ms. Whitney Chapman. Could you please stand? I want to recognize our Director of Case Management, Ms. Kim Backus, who you heard from earlier. I also want to acknowledge our Director of Community Events, I think I said that right, at the Multipurpose Center, Ms. Severia Scott. Could you please stand? So everybody, all staff of the Calumet Township Trustee's Office, please stand, because people have helped, whether it was handing out programs or being ushers or helping with breakfast or lunch today. Let's give it up for the Calumet Township Trustee's Office. So again, as I said earlier, you've heard action updates throughout, from our adoption of Charity Tracker, began the training this summer. We've had almost 170 entries into that system, which is region-wide, multiple counties, over 100 social service agencies. We're now in that conversation. The trustees signed the agreement with United Way of Northwest Indiana in May, and we took it seriously, and we're actively doing it and beginning to see the results. As I said earlier, trustee decided to open the office on Fridays so we could expand services for residents after having been closed for several years, even prior to COVID, on Fridays. And we've seen over 150 people, I believe it is, who have come in on Fridays since we started that initiative in the office. We have worked with Indiana Career Connect and Work One, speaking of workforce development, to send over 25 people even within the last 7 weeks, right? And we're going to build on that and continue to expand and work with the resources that we have at our disposal. And as I said earlier, during our housing panel, which our trustee moderated, we've expanded not only our income eligibility requirements to ensure we can serve more residents by going from, let's say, $1,000 to $1,500 of monthly income for residents to be able to receive our services. We also raised our rental rates to be in alignment with the HUD zip code guidelines. So we're doing the work. We got a lot of ideas today, from medical assistance we need to look into, improving our mortgage assistance processes. We have some potential partnerships. The trustee made some commitments in terms of working with residents, in terms of financial literacy, and so many other areas. And so we're excited about doing this work, and we're looking forward to continuing to engage the community with the insights and concerns and barriers that we've heard raised by this expert group of panelists who have graced us with their presence from the first panel at 10 a.m. until our last one. So I present to you Trustee Atkins to give us closing remarks, and then we will continue to network, take some extra food if you'd like, and be our ambassadors, right? Spread the word about the important work of the Calumet Township Trustee's Office. If you see people in need, if you see something, say something, and direct them our way. Let's give it up for Trustee Atkins.
Thank you again, William. I won't be before you long. Again, I just want to echo the sentiments of my counterpart, William, thanking the panelists who are before us right now and those who participated. I do want to give a special shout out to members of my Friday team, Ms. Backus, Mr. Sidney Wade, as well as Ms. Miller, who they are part of my team who is made it possible for us to have Fridays open. They are the team of 3 who are present at the township every Friday. And so I have the vision, and I will say that I have an amazing team who has not turned their back on me, but who has altered their schedules to support the vision. And so Kim, Mr. Wade, as well as Ms. Miller, take my sentiments back to her. I can't thank the three of you enough for being a part of that vision, and thank you for allowing us to be able to have this good rollout as we want to increase accessibility to the constituents of the township. To the constituents who participated, it has been a long day, has it not? So thank you for hanging in there with us. I want to say this, this is a measure that my colleague and I are using to communicate the work that we're doing. We come from the Civic City where we're used to being able to do that every Tuesday. And so we try to collaborate throughout the 5 to 6 months that we've had in between the sessions, but do a report out. So I invite you to follow us on social media, on YouTube. This particular program will be streaming on YouTube. I want to thank my media manager, Aaron Green, for supporting that initiative. Follow us on Facebook as well. Our work does not stop once the cameras stop rolling. We wake up tomorrow and we start again, so that in the next 5 months we're able to be reporting out to you in terms of the lessons and the actions that we take out from today. And so I again, thank you for rolling with us. The Calumet Township team is excited to be elevated in a nude, and I appreciate your support. Thank you.
We're going to have some nice music, so continue to network, continue to enjoy each other. Thanks again for being here. I know that we talked about scheduling a tour of Faith Farms for those who are here for the nutritious food panel. So we'll circulate that in the emails of those who've registered if you'd like to do a tour. If we don't have your email, please make sure we have your email address. Also your surveys. Please fill out your surveys so that we can continue to improve this program and improve what we're offering to the public. All right? Thank you.